There we go.
All right, guys, we are live. I think we're live. I have
We are
something
live now.
awesome. I have something in my eye, so I might be like rubbing my eye every minute, or I might be crying in a minute. So whatever. My name is Dr. Charnel Wolverton Sehan, and we are here live today to talk about a lot of different subjects that I believe are going to interest you. Craig Walker is here with me, my dear friend and co-host, and welcome, Craig.
Hello, nice to be here. I'm out in my car again because all the kids are here and I don't have access to their rooms. So if you hear them about, they are playing out and things. But no, this is quite an interesting one. And like I say, I put it on. Well, we put it on Facebook, didn't we? That this isn't going to be this isn't a normie conversation. We've been talking privately about some things, or well, you've been telling me some things. Hey, Tyler. Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's down to you. Just maybe start where you'll be okay. Just
Yeah.
start where you started with me. Basically, we interviewed Tony Rodriguez recently, didn't we?
Mm.
And that was just such an amazing conversation. I mean, that guy just carries so much empathy and what a story he's got to tell and what great work he's doing. And he's clearly triggered something, particularly in you. So why don't we take it from there?
Yeah, so and that's my second interview with Tony. My first interview was also very triggering, and actually I've been reluctant to talk about the subjects at all because the first time I went on live with Carrie Cassidy to talk about my book, which a lot of this information, that things that happened to me are in this book, or just the way to get out of it or the way to heal is in that book, my book, The Science of Miracles. But when Carrie had me on, it was to talk about the Science of Miracles, I thought, but instead she was asking me a lot about the Montauk Project and different projects that I was a part of. And I had something happen to me that night, and so did she. So I haven't went too public since then. And when I say something happened, basically, it felt like I went to sleep like normal, and then I felt freezing cold and was shaking like really really hard shaking, and I would go in and out of consciousness, but it seemed like there were people standing over me. I'm shaking. And I could hear like muffled voices, people, and I remember I was so cold and shaking. I was freezing, shaking, to the point where I was thinking in my head, like, if I'm asleep, why isn't my husband waking up? Because I knew I was shaking the bed. And I kept on and on shaking, and then I would go in and out and in and out, and then finally, um, I was trying to like scream, but I couldn't. And then when I did wake up, I woke up on the floor in the fetal position next to my bed, completely naked. Sorry. And my clothes were perfectly folded next to me. And I do not fold my clothes, and neither does my husband. And I don't sleep naked. And a matter of fact, when I sleep, I have like several blankets on and weighted blankets on because of like my fear of some stuff that happened. So I was violently ill at that point and I just had to keep going to the bathroom to throw up. I was sick for 3 days. I called Carrie as soon as it was time. I was able to, that same day. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what happened, and tried to explain it to her because nothing like that I could remember has ever happened. And she was also violently ill, and she thought that we had got hit by some energy weapon or something. I've never even heard of that before. I don't know what that is about. I even asked my husband, like, why didn't did you see anything? Did you hear anything? Like, did you feel the bed shaking? Like, what was, and nobody, anyway, he didn't remember anything or hear anything, and was sleeping when I woke up. And said he had nothing to do with folding my clothes or anything. So I don't really know about that. But so pretty much I didn't talk about it after that until now.
Yes. Yeah. So for those that maybe aren't aware, how sort of briefly, how would you describe what the Montauk Project is or was, if you want to go there?
Yeah, so my dad was a part of the radar in Montauk. Montauk is in New York, and my dad was stationed there from 73 to 76. I was there with him, and there were underground facilities there that they would come for me in my class, and then they would take me down underground, and they were doing different projects on different children there. And I had some memories of this, and or talked to my parents about things. Some of the things are like, I remember telling them that they were watching me from the moon. I remember I was looking at the moon thinking that they're watching me. I know there were cages, there were kids in cages, there was a chair, and they were doing stuff, sending kids to space, sending people to space, mostly boys. There were a few girls. They stopped using the girls because the girls were, I know now, I mean, I made up my own thing. I don't know if this is true, but I know on a neuroscience level, girls have a different brain ability to multitask and aren't as easily altered because they already can split in so many ways, where guys pretty much have, one window open at a time. So it's easier to split.
It's true.
I don't know if that, is why they stopped using girls, but I'm told that they stopped using girls. I don't know why. I can't confirm that. So yeah. Sorry.
All right, don't worry about it. So, I mean, you've already said things that collaborate with so many other people's stories about kids in cages in these projects and what they're doing to children. And obviously, you being where you were taken on these projects. So where do you want to go from here? Because I don't want to push anything where you're not comfortable going with, maybe things that you've told me that you don't want to go public about.
Okay.
But there is a purpose for doing this, isn't there? You think people might be having memories, issues that are related to the same thing. Is that right?
Yeah. So, I was having memories for a long time, but it wasn't, and I was having missing time throughout my life. Sometimes longer periods than other times. At one time, it was 8 hours completely. One was 12, and was 8 hours completely missing. My dad worked again on projects in Japan, Iceland. North Dakota has a radar. I believe there's one in California, or was. I don't know if there still is. I know that they have bases underneath McCord Air Force Base, which is now JBL, because they joined forces with Fort Lewis and McCord are together. And I went, and my family member is in the military, and invited me to go back on the base a few years ago. And I was like, sure, and didn't realize that it was going to trigger some things. And so when I went, I drove by a child care center and a hospital, and some things started bleeding through. And that was kind of some things. I also had an encounter where some beings came to my house that, and these beings have come pretty much for multiple things. Every time I was pregnant, they came. When I had a job change, they came. When, you know, different things that were pretty extraordinary, they would come and tell me things. I called them angels because I didn't have another word for that in my vocabulary or experiences. Coming from a ministry background, they were good. I had a gray come to me in January 2020 in Mount Shasta.
I was going to get onto this about you went for a massage. Is that right?
Yes, and he basically came and apologized to me, not with words, but about. And I was like, first of all, I thought I was going to die when he showed up. He, she, whatever. And then I instantly heard him in my mind say, "I'm sorry." And I was like, "For what?" And I looked into his eyes, and it looked sad. And in my experience, they don't have feelings or anything like that. And I was like, thought to myself, for what? And when I did think that, I immediately saw me in my mother's womb, and this same thing was messing with me in my mom's womb. And I was like, what? And I could see myself maybe 20 weeks or more trying to get away from what they were doing. And even my birth is super weird anyway. But so I was born at 3:33. I'm told I was born in Montana. But even just recently in the last year, my father was ill and was setting up like a trust or a will or whatever, and had asked for all of our social security numbers to set up whatever in case anything happened. And my mom and I and my sister had all brought our cards over to the house, and they were all on the table. And my mom was also born in Montana, so our numbers would be the same because your social is set by your birth. And when I put my card down next to hers, I realized that we didn't have the same numbers, but my sister and I did. And my sister was actually born on the base in Montauk. And my numbers, I have a New York Montauk social, which I shouldn't, because I was supposedly not there until 3 years old. But yet my paperwork shows that it's Montauk instead of Montana. Now my birth certificate says Montana, but my social doesn't. And that makes absolutely no sense at all. And matter of fact, I was asking my mom, like, why? And they were just like, oh, must be a paperwork issue or whatever. But I've had kids, and I wasn't allowed to leave the hospital until the paperwork was filled out. You don't leave the hospital until you fill out the paperwork for your birth certificate and your social. That's just how it works. And I mean, I've had 3 kids, and I know that that's how it works. And I've asked tons of people, like, what's your first 3 letters? You can Google your social and just with your first 3 letters and put it in your state and see. There's a whole chart. It tells you what you are. So why does it say that I was born in Montauk if my birth certificate says that it was? So, but going back to your question, I was with another person who was in the program in real life here. I have to say real life. There's a person that you and I both know, and I have known him since 2008, I guess, or earlier. And he was actually in a ministry background, and he was having memories around that time, 2008. And I didn't have any judgment about any of it. He was very ostracized. He was kicked out of everything. He was called the devil and everything else. And I had
traveled. Say his name, just because people will be asking, "Oh, do you want to keep him out of it?"
I don't feel comfortable outing him.
Okay.
That's his story if he wants to tell it. I mean, he has been public about it, but then went into hiding because of the problems that came with that. But I've traveled the world with this man in multiple places. I know his family very well. I know his children. We did ministry for years, and he's not a liar. So, but when we were at New Zealand, some things happened. We were in New Zealand and some things happened. And then when we came back, basically we were at another meeting and he looked at me and he said, "You're starting to remember the chair, aren't you?" And I was like, immediately bleed through.
This guy who we're talking about is highly intuitive, very powerful person. You know, he's a very loving, very powerful person. That's right, isn't it?
Yes. And also, you know, thank you for all the good vibes, you guys, because this is not easy discussion at all. So appreciate your comments right now. It means a lot. But hey, Jess, you were there at the meeting when all that happened. Jessica's on here live. She was there. So she knows very well. And lots of people were there when that happened. And
so you said about the chair. You said you started to remember the chair.
Yes. And I did. And I've talked about it to even key ministry figures at times, because I would have these things that would happen when I would go to sleep at night, and or even during the day. I would see myself in space in this chair, even as an adult. And I would be given information about Israel or other countries, things that going on in Europe that were very specific and accurate. And I would come back and I would tell people, and I would deliver these messages on stage as a ministry person and on speaking at conferences. And I was always in a chair. And that didn't make sense to me. Like, what's the deal with this chair, and how do I know these things? And I still don't understand how I was an adult in the chair doing these things. And if any of you guys have information on this, like, please reach out, because this is another reason why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to understand myself and also maybe help people in the process, because I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And people might think this is absolutely fucking crazy, and that's okay, because I think I'm crazy too. Matter of fact, with my husband, when I would start any sentence trying to explain to him things, I would start out with, "I know this doesn't make sense," or "I know you probably won't believe me, but," and blah, blah, blah. And then finally he stopped me and he said, "Why do you keep saying I won't believe you?" And I said, "I guess because it just sounds so crazy, you know?" And he was like, "I know, but ask yourself why you keep saying that." And I said, "I guess because I have a hard time believing it. Like, it doesn't make sense. None of this stuff is in context for this 3D timeline." But I have memories of an individual, specifically in Montauk, and I have for years. I do not remember the one that I mentioned earlier specifically. I don't remember seeing him, but he apparently knew I was there. But I did have memories of another specific human male. And I have weird memories of us being on a mission. I have stuff on Jupiter, the moon. Again, why? I mean, have they just implanted me with weird memories? You know, it's like, you could say that, but also, like, I was literally at Montauk from 73 to 76. I mean, this is me at Montauk. I'm sorry, I'm shaking. But you can see the lighthouse in the background. I mean, I went to school there. They would take me out. I was in a tag program similar to Tony, where they would take you out and did exercises. There was testing. There was these blocks. They're yellow blocks that were geometric shapes that they would want you to do things. So they would hold up these ink blots and try to make you figure out, like, what we would see. I say we, I'm assuming other people were doing it. At the time, I thought other people were doing it. I didn't think I was really special. There was never anyone that came with me when I went, but I just thought everybody was doing this. It doesn't make sense that they were teaching me how to fly in 7th grade. I was in a simulator. This is real. They would take me out of classroom and they would bring me to go fly in a simulator. They told me that it was a plane. I had to take a written test, a flying test. But I never flew a plane. Like, I never did airtime. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And why how old are you when you're in 7th grade doing, why am I flying?
Yeah.
I made like a 99 or 98 on my simulator and 100 on my written. Apparently I had really good psychic abilities, and I've always used that towards ministry and for good. But going back to the individual, someone actually sent me an interview that had been posted 7 days prior. This was in August, I believe the 11th or the 12th of August, 2016, which is a very significant date. I now know, as of yesterday, I just found out that that's a significant date having to do with Sirius, Wolf Dog, K9, North Star, which I have a North Star on my tattoo, is one of the first tattoos.
And you've always had to think about wolves, right?
I've always had a thing about wolves. Everything is wolves. I have a tattoo of a wolf on my...
The dog barked at just the right time. You got the wolf on then. That was quite funny.
Yeah. My dad had a thing with wolves too. My dad, he was a DJ, and he was called Uncle Wolvie.
Mm-hmm.
But
Wolverton.
yeah, so but someone sent me this interview. I remember exactly where I was. I was in my room in bed, and I just put it on my TV and went to go watch it. And when it came up, I instantly saw Max.
Max who?
Max Spiers.
Mm-hmm. Just so people know, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, still makes me cry. I thought I wouldn't cry, but I was instantly happy. And my first thought was, oh my God, there he is. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my God, I found him. This is the mystery face that I had seen in multiple flashes. He was in a cage next to me as a kid, and some other things. He was on what I remember as Delta 514. I don't understand what that is. On these missions, someone had told me it was a part of some sort of super soldier thing. I don't consider myself a super soldier. I was apparently like a medic of some kind.
Maybe a naturopathic medic of some sort.
Yes, but I have it seared in my mind for some reason, Delta 514. No idea, but this has always been a thing, Delta 514. And I had these images of us going to extract a pyramid that had been stolen from us, a black pyramid that I knew was a transportation device. And it would collapse and go upside down or this way, and you could beam to different realities, dimensions, similar to the trip chair, but it was portable. You could hold it in your hand, and whoever had it could go wherever. You can even take people with you with this. And they had taken it from us. I don't know who they is, but I know we were trying to get it. The only little memory I have is I was around this corner first, right at the edge, and Max was behind me. And I was peeking around, and I was going to go around. And when I did, there was fire, like an energy weapon, and he had pulled me back, and I didn't get shot because of that. And so he literally saved me that time. But then there was another time underground where they were going to do some really horrendous torture stuff, and he took my place. But So when I saw the interview, immediately, like, relief, felt like, oh my God, there could be some resolve here. I can find him. I was looking at his name and I'm like, grab my phone, start Googling. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. Finally, I can figure out who this is. And Googled him. And it said that he had just mysteriously passed away. And then it was just like, drop, a complete drop, because I feel like I found him and lost him in like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And obviously, the mystery surrounding his death is quite. I don't know if people are aware of what happened, but he was found cuffed up. A lot of black goo, if I'm not mistaken. It was all this black goo that it whatever that means.
Yeah, he vomited black goo for 2 liters of black goo or something.
That's right, 2 liters, yeah.
Candace, hey, I see you. Candace was actually at the meeting too, and she knows who I'm talking about. She was there, and she's known me for 15, 20 years, and she knows about how I've talked about this publicly with these prophetic messages that I would get or what have you. I mean, I cannot prove any of this, but I can tell you with all character and integrity that anything I did know, I talked about, and people can validate that. They can confirm that. And I didn't understand it, and neither did anyone else. But anyway, so the interview that I saw put me on this like path to find out more about how he passed. This is in 2016. And right short after that, Laura Eisenhower came into my life, which on September 11th. I spoke with her earlier than that, but I had called, I almost said his name. I called the person in the program and said, oh my God, this guy, la la la. Asked if he knew anything about him. He did. He sent me some stuff about James Casbolt.
Yes, that's because that's the Project Mannequin that comes in, isn't it? They talk about that.
Yes, and he sent me his book, and I had never heard Max being a part of Mannequin until yesterday. Because literally after a little bit of feeling super crazy and wanting to lock myself up in a mental hospital, well, first I'll say after that interview, I was pretty messed up for 3 days. There was a lot of bleed through, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. It didn't make sense to me. I was scared and definitely didn't know that anyone else had gone through what I had gone through. So why would I talk about it? And it just, and a lot of it's pretty disgusting. Some of the things are not something I would ever want to say out loud, and I probably won't. But I carried on, and I had to stop. I had to not go any deeper because it was too much.
I remember because you would talk to me a lot about stuff, and it was really getting to you, and you just had to say, look, enough's enough. I can't take any more. And so then, obviously you stopped pursuing it.
Yes, and I didn't know if that was good or bad, but I just did it because you were talking to me during that time, and I was a wreck. I mean, I have jobs. I work multiple jobs. I have children. I have things to do, and this was taking a lot of energy and distraction, and I was not able to focus or do anything. I wanted to do anything to not think about it. And I did, unfortunately, do some things that aren't probably the highest because it was a lot and I was hurting. I'm not doing that anymore, but I can see why anyone would get into addictions or off themselves or whatever, because it's not something easy for sure.
A lot of pain in there, I believe.
But but going forward, having Tony back on the show again, a mixture of that was bringing up some things. Also going to the dentist, which I contacted you right after I went to the dentist because I was literally shaking so hard and having a panic attack. I had to go to the bathroom and literally sit on the ground and kind of a ball.
Yeah. So what was it in the dentist that triggered you?
The chair.
The chair. Yeah.
The chair. So there was multiple factors that kind of were in sync to, more recently. And then Tony was back. But got on a rabbit trail here just recently again. Because I was watching American Idol of all things last week. And there was a young girl that came on who said that her dad was Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. And my husband was with me, and he said something like, "Oh, you mean AKA Will Ferrell?" And I was like, "What? What does that mean?" And he was like, "Oh, you don't know?" And I was like, "What?" And he said, yeah, and he actually I'll pull it up. Hold on, I have.
It's one of the. Isn't it the drummer of the Chili Peppers, Chad Smith, and Will Ferrell look virtually the same?
Basically, yes.
Yeah. And they did made a joke out of it, and they did like a drum off where he would play drums and then Will Ferrell would play drums.
Yes, I sent you the video. Let me see if I could pull it up because it's very crazy. Can you see that? There we go. So can you even tell? I mean, look at that. So my husband pulls this up and then he pulls up a video. Can you guys see that? Am I the only one who can see this?
I can see it. I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So he pulls that up and then he pulls up this other video. Let me see if there's another. Yeah. Can you see that too?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So they did this drum off and what have you. And
I've met Chad Smith, by the way, just as a side note.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, he did a drum clinic here in England, and I went, and it was really good. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Okay, so I immediately was like, oh my God, clones, definitely clones. And let me go back to this other one. I mean, you guys can Google this, but so that set me on this whole Project Mannequin situation where I was just like, okay, and my daughter, jumping forward, my daughter was watching these movies with a specific actor that she just is obsessive about. And I was like, okay, I watched like 4 with her. And then I was like, you know what, it's my turn. I get to watch something I want to watch. And so I had wanted to watch Ryan Gosling movie. And mind you, I've not been able to watch a Ryan Gosling movie for a long, long time because I was always triggered, like something about Ryan Gosling, it was a trigger for me, even before all the Max stuff.
Yeah.
And I would get very emotional. I was very shaky. Different things would happen when I would see him or like anyone would talk about him or what have you. And I could not figure out what that drive was. But I had watched a couple of his movies way back. Maybe all of them, I don't know, just whenever they came out. I think he's a great actor. But I realized when I saw Max that he kind of favored Ryan. And I went to go on Max's Facebook page and he actually had something on there about Ryan Gosling. And I was like, what? And they had the same jacket. They had all this stuff. And he had actually said that Ryan was his clone. So I was like, okay, let me see if I could find, let's see, pictures. Like, can you see that? I mean, they do. favor each other to me. Let me see if there's some more. I had made some side-by-sides, and you guys are, there's lots of pictures where he doesn't look the same. No joke. But I know that Ryan is a bit more thinner and chiseled, but I've seen him heavier, and I've also seen Max thinner.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you guys, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do they look the same? Oops, I'm going ahead of myself.
It's undeniable. It's as close as Chad Smith and Will Ferrell for sure.
Yes. So I realized that was why I was so emotional and what have you. Anyway, I talked my daughter into watching a movie, and I had given her two choices. One was Lars and the real girl, and another one was, I forget the name, something with good and evil or something. And I picked Lars and the real girl on purpose because the storyline has to do with him, meaning Ryan Gosling, carrying around this mannequin. And I just kept thinking Project Mannequin.
Yeah.
Which, let me pull this up. Let's see. Where is the pictures? I have some more here. I thought I had sent them, but maybe I didn't. But you guys can Google. Let me see if I could send it over. There we go. I think I can pull this up real quick. Thank you for your patience, guys. This is like super not easy, but
it's all raw. It's all good. Lars and the real girl.
Yeah. And let's see. There we go. So he brings this mannequin with him everywhere, and there's no sexual relationship or what have you. But can you even see Max there a little bit? I can.
Oh, yeah. See it.
So yeah, that anyway, so we watched the movie, and his name is Lars in the movie, and when I watch in the movie, all of a sudden they refer to Lars, Ryan Gosling, as Mr. Sunshine. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I literally sat up in my bed, my mouth was just dropped. I was like, are you effing kidding me? And I grab my phone again and I look to see if his name in the movie is Lars Sunshine, because I'm like, why are they calling him that? Because this was Max's alter trigger word to change him into a different alter, the word sunshine.
Yep. So the people that don't know Max's story, so Max, there was a trigger word that they would say, which would be sunshine, and he would switch. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they are calling Ryan this in the movie Mr. Sunshine, and they did multiple times. And I was like, this is unbelievable. I mean, come on. So I'm gonna go back to my notes because I had to write this down, and I'm probably gonna write a book. But so I don't know. So I'm thinking to myself, I need to call Carrie Cassidy because I know that she probably knows about Project Mannequin. Project Mannequin. I didn't know a lot about it. I never heard anything really too much about it. I feel like Max and I were a part of Oak Tree somehow with our DNA. I know my mom was picked. His mom was picked. His mom and dad were picked. I'm assuming my dad was picked too. I know the Mason's number is really big on 333. I was born at 333. Yeah. The doctor that delivered me was Harold Messenger. Who knows if that was really Montana or Montauk? Again, that's a mystery. I don't know why my parents would lie to me. You said yesterday, maybe they, I don't think they're lying. You said maybe they just made them not remember. I don't know. But yeah, Aaron, there's not a coincidence. Wait till you just wait. There's way more. You're gonna freak out. So I'm thinking this about Carrie, and then Carrie fucking calls me. Excuse me, sorry, but she calls me. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and she calls me, and I talk to Carrie a lot. We do a show every month, and we have for like a year.
Mhm.
We've done a show with Jenny, Sin, and Laura, and I like every year, once a month. But she was calling about something else, and so I was like, dude, I was about to call you, and I said, since you're on the phone, can you tell me a little bit more about Project Mannequin? And I told her about the movie that I just watched, and I told her that I was going back to Max and trying to get some things in order in my mind about some things with that. And she tells me, you need to look up the movie Dollhouse. It's really important that you watch Dollhouse. That'll maybe give you some answers, which I never have. And then she also says something about a Donald Marshall. So I don't know, you guys who've been doing this forever, Aaron, Tyler, Megan, Greg, all you guys, definitely let me know if you know anything, because I'm seriously open to understanding better. But yeah, apparently there was something with that. So she also said something about Donald Marshall and looking up Donald Marshall, and that he had some books or something. And she also mentioned there's something else that she had said. Oh, she had said something about, well, they were just doing this cloning thing because they had a fear that we were going to go in some war with ETs eventually, and that they wanted an army, basically, that would be AI.
Clone Wars. Yeah.
So this transhuman agenda for people to basically be very easily given orders and followed orders, but also super abilities. So that included black goo, or glyphene oxide, which they were using in the stuff. And also Carrie reminded me of an island where all these scientists were doing all this stuff, and most of them died because it was too much. And they were just trying to figure it out. And I don't recall that island that she talked about. Maybe some of you guys know, but and I said, well, hello, that's how Max. They were probably messing with Max, and they gave him too much. And she says, oh my gosh, I didn't put that together. I wasn't thinking about that. And anyway, so I get off the call, and when I do, I guess I can remove this. When I got off the call and I Google Ryan Gosling, I don't know why. I'm just like following my leads. And when I Google Ryan Gosling, I knew that he was from Canada, or he is from Canada. And I know that there's a base in Canada where James and Max were underground for different projects. And I wondered, well, how close was Ryan to that? And what was, maybe he was connected with that too. And I Google him, and I found out that he had a band, which, did you know he had a band? A music band? I always think of him as an actor. I wasn't ever thinking of him as.
Yeah, I've never known him as an actor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he has this band, and the band actually started apparently in 2008, which is the same time that I was having stuff, that this other person that I can't name was having stuff, that when Max had his bleed through when he was in California. I've had stuff all along, so I don't want to like just say this is the only time I've had stuff. I think you've had stuff. Everyone, we're all in process, but there was a lot of activity in 2008. And apparently this is when Ryan started his band. Well, guess who he started? He's only a 2-person band with his other guy, Zach, someone. And guess who helped him start the band?
Go on.
Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers and Chad from
Smith.
Red Hot Chili. I'm sorry, yeah, it's a lot. Red Hot Chili Peppers dudes, the same guys that I showed you previously, that I believe are clones. They had some sort of choir that was used in their album, their first album, but the name of their band was also the name of their first album. The name of their band was called Dead Man's Bones. Also their first album, Dead Man's Bones. Now, coming from a ministry background, you and I know what Dead Man's Bones is. Ezekiel, yes. And so I immediately Googled dead, Ezekiel. I'll read it to you. Oh, I'm breathing.
You're doing fine.
Yeah, so I had to write it down. So where are you? You see, I don't know, sending love. Thank you for the love. Okay, hold on. I got it here. I should have had this on a slide or something. Why can't I find it now? Oh, here we go.
Is it Ezekiel 37 from memory?
Yes. It says, the hand of the Lord was on me and brought me out by spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth, and I saw many bones on the floor of the valley. Bones were very dry. He asked, Son of man, can these bones live? The sovereign Lord, I said, Sovereign Lord, only you know. Then he said to me, prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make flesh come upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know I'm the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise and a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and there was tendons and flesh appeared to them, covered them. There was no breath in them. Then he said to me, prophesy to the breath, prophesy to their breath, prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says, come, four winds, and breathe to these slain that they may live. So I prophesied and commanded the breath to enter them, and they came into new life and stood to their feet as a vast army. A vast army?
Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
A vast army of what? Super soldiers that can fight ETs if there was a war?
Can I just jump in there? I didn't tell you this yesterday, but in 2005, I had what in the ministry days was called a prophetic word from, I don't mind saying his name, from Todd Bentley. And that was one of the scriptures he spoke over me.
He was in the programs. Keep going.
Well, it was just that was basically when he called me out, and he prophesied that exact scripture. To
you? Yeah. Wow. Well,
I didn't tell you that yesterday.
So yeah. So, and please, you guys, if you can share this, that would be great. I would love for you to share this. There's who knows how many people need to hear this to like remember themselves and or get their own healing. But Disney also helped with this, creating this band, which we know about Disney, and we know about the Disney Kids, which also Ryan was a part of that, and also Britney Spears, same last name, connection, Spiers. And there's a lot more in that. Britney actually has a house like 4-5 buildings down from where, anyway, she lives in, I probably shouldn't say this. Okay, I'll be quiet. So, but going back to Dead Man's Bones, I found a few quotes that were interesting. It's because I wanted to know, why did they call it Dead Man's Bones? And it said that it was created because of their obsession with some ride at Disney, and also their obsession and love for the paranormal in 2008. I found this quote that says, interestingly, the band's love of the paranormal helped shape their sound with the lyrics, including a song called My Body's a Zombie for You.
Yeah, it's all there, isn't it?
According to IMDb, Dead Man's Bones had a few of their tracks appear in big screen projects. Because one of the songs is also called A Werewolf Heart. Now, wolves are a big deal because the Delta 514, at least that was my situation. And I didn't even know that there were women super soldiers, and didn't put me in that league at all, or because I think of soldiers like kick-ass military, not that, I mean, I'm not in any kind of shape to do that now. I used to, I have the record leg press in my college. I used to run really fast, and I could bench press quite a bit and was very fit, and even wanted to go into the military for quite a while, but didn't because of the whole war thing. But I don't like the duality of that, and I don't like killing. So there's that. But whenever I was talking to James Ring and talked to this other person, I said, well, he thought that this Delta 514 was like a super soldier situation. And I was like, oh no, it can't be because I'm a girl, And he was like, no, there were usually packs, they call them, of 5. And they were usually 5 guys and a girl. Now, as I'm talking to him, I'm literally talking to him, and I'm cleaning my closet. And as I'm cleaning my closet, and as he's talking to me, I pull out this box that I didn't know what it was, but this is what comes up is wind chime that I bought in Montana on a trip that I forgot about because I was buying it for a new home that we didn't ever move into, and I just put it away for when we moved, and it's 5 wolves.
Yep.
I literally was like, pulled out the box, he's talking to me, and he goes, oh, it's 5 wolves, blah, blah, blah. And then literally I pulled that out and it's 5 wolves. And I was like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this right now. And so there was that. But, this album has a song called Werewolf Heart. I mean, again, this fascination, like, why is Ryan having a fascination with wolves as well? And it gets deeper. He says that this person, Anthony Spencer, had published an article on June 9th, 2021. It said that the Dead Man's Bones has a few tracks appear on the big screen projects of all sizes. Some of them include Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Which I never watched. But get this, also included their music played in the movie Dollhouse. Which Dollhouse, again, that's what Carrie Cassidy had said. You should watch that because it has to do with cloning. So yeah,
so much synchronicity and dot connection. It's you can't make this up. You can't just yeah. Sorry, carry on.
It says that this quote says, I recognize the children's choir might be a deal breaker for some, but the tenaciousness of Dead Man's Bones, using a choir to win over most ardent kid haters. Sure, there's a bit of time-honored Roger Walters tradition of making kids sing inappropriate lyrics, including Like a Lamb to the Slaughter, which is one of the lyrics in My Body's a Zombie for You. So yeah, that goes back again to the whole what Carrie was saying. And then Carrie actually had also talked about how she was actually in London at a conference where Max was supposed to be with Miles Johnson, who I don't want to talk about, but basically he walked by her during a break, and I think Max was supposed to be there, and said, did you hear about Max? Max is dying. And she immediately Skyped him. And when she did, this other guy answered the phone and said, he picked up and she's like, I want to talk to Max. Who are you? And he's like, Max can't talk. Max is in the other room on the couch going in and out of consciousness. And then she heard a woman's voice say, who are you talking to? And he said, Carrie Cassidy. And she said, don't talk to her. Don't talk to her. Hang up. Don't tell her anything. And, Carrie had told them to call an ambulance or get some help, which an ambulance and the police were called. And this woman, I don't want to say, well, I guess it's public who she is, Monique Duvall, sent them away. So yeah. Anyway, so I asked her about this lady, Lorraine or something having to do with Lorraine, because I had heard him on an interview talk about this Lorraine person and how she's 20 years older than him and how they were both in the project. And I'm like, how does that make sense? Because I've tried to make sense of it because I'm 6 years older than him. So how could we both been in the project? If he was in my mind, in my memory of seeing him, we were not that different in age. It wasn't a big gap. At least in my memory, we were like ish kind of the same. So I don't know how they do that, or if I'm just crazy again, and I'm okay to be crazy. But I remember him being the same age. And when she told me the lady's name and she said, oh yes, she does, like she started the Super Soldier Summit. And I guess I'll stop screen. So I went to Google her once I had her full name, Lorraine Fenton. I think it's Fenton. The first, it took me a little digging, but I tried to find a conference that actually had, any more information that I could possibly find. And when I did, let me see, this is what comes up. I will share this. I feel a little relief.
Good.
So this is what comes up. It says, can you guys see that?
Yep.
It says, this was his bio for this conference. And it says Max Spiers was born in Canterbury, which is in English, which he wasn't born in Canterbury. I don't know why it says that or why he would put that. I know he believes his soul was born there. He says that, but he was born in Brighton. And it's a historic cathedral. I've been to Canterbury multiple times, and I know that's where him and Orlando Bloom were there. And he was actually baptized or whatever. What do you call it when you're, I don't know. His own father wasn't a Christian and did not want to be there for the baptism or whatever what do you call it when you're 12 and you get something
confirmed or something, confirmation, something like that. Yeah.
So his dad didn't want to do it. And so he picked Orlando Bloom, who was his best friend, and they grew up together. They were, I believe, Orlando was a part of the projects. He also has that connection to Disney and, the Pirates of the Caribbean. And his wife, Katy Perry's agent, is an agent for a lot of these kids that are now grown. And also the brother of a lady I'm going to have on my show in a few weeks here, who says that she was the original 11 from Montauk, which, okay, I'm going to find out.
You're talking about 11 from Stranger Things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which remind me of that later, because I want you to share too about that. But for losing my train of thought. But anyway, so she was somehow a part of this, and I'm going to have her on because, again, I'm just trying to figure things out. Like I don't know anything, and I'm open to hearing what anyone has to do that might have a piece that's missing for me. But he picked Orlando to be his godfather, who Orlando was a year younger than him.
Mhm.
But he picked Orlando to be his godfather. They were set to be actors. He was supposed to be an actor, and just like Orlando, and probably like Ryan. Well, Ryan, I believe, is a clone, and was having memories in 2008, just like Max. I think there was like he was starting to remember some things, and why would he be writing about my body as a zombie for you? I mean, come on. It's like, did he know he was a clone in some weird way that? And what does that even mean? Does that, I mean, was Max's consciousness put onto him? Like, was he part of Oak Tree and there was a split? You know, is this a soul thing? Like, I'll let you talk about that. But anyway, going back, Canterbury was a very. I lived in England twice. I lived in England when I lived in Germany. My dad was actually recruited by Westinghouse to work for Westinghouse, which Westinghouse is a big competition for Tesla back in the day. If you know anything about Tesla, you guys watching, they would fight, and they were trying to always like one up each other and inventions and what have you. And there was a big rivalry, and Tesla was what was used in Montauk. So of course they were trying to recruit my dad. They probably thought he knew things. So I remember as a kid going to London and staying at the VP's house or the Westinghouse, and we were there, I don't know, I think a couple weeks, and they were trying to recruit him. I hung out with the granddaughter there, and some nasty things happened about that, but we were there, and also went to Canterbury. I went to college in London. I went back to London and Max was there then. Went to Canterbury. I remember walking around. I actually went to the cathedral. I lost my purse, was stolen in there. Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
My purse was stolen there, all my identity and everything. I ended up getting it back. But anyway, going back to Canterbury, Max, this thing that says Max says he is involved in Project Mannequin. He says it right there.
Yep.
That's the first time I saw that. He says, I was part of Mannequin in the UK, which is an extension of the Nazi Uberman Superman project. I have connections to Montauk and time manipulation projects. Hello, the pyramid.
Yep.
Which is also what this is about. The pyramid. It would do this.
And just to clarify as well, it would make sense that there has been time manipulations, the fact that you and him are in the programs at the same time, despite the age difference.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously something going on there.
Well, and how would I even be an adult in the chair? It's like, that is also, it seems like there is no time, which is why my time clock is broke. If anyone knows me, I am the worst when it comes to time because I don't seem to be able to keep it together with time. But he says, I've studied magic and esoteric thought 15 years, became conscious after my awareness in these projects after he turned 30 in 2008. Now the Superman thing is a big deal too. And I'll bring this up. Anyone who knows me, whoops, that's not what I want to do. I want to stop screen. Anyone who knows me knows that for the first conference I ever did was because of the Superman thing. I had this major Superman thing. My whole, everything in my office is Superman. Everything in my house is Superman, and Wonder Woman, by the way, which is another story. Superman, Wonder Woman, tattoos, also the wolf. But my whole living room is Superman. I did not know it had anything to do with the project, but in my understanding, I went to, I kept having, I was obsessed with Superman. I watched all of them. And there was this one trailer that the father, Jor-El was speaking to Superman, and he was saying, even though you are not human, you were raised as one. Yep. And then it would show this mass amount of people, and he'd say, you're a great people, Kal-El. Or he'd say, they're a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show them the way.
Mhm.
And then he says, this reason above all, their capacity for good. I have sent them you, my only son. And then it would show Superman like coming down to the earth and having this like, supersonic whatever abilities and doing all the stuff. So my first conference, which was with Patricia King and Paul Keith Davis, 2004, I taught on the Bionic Bride. I was obsessed with bionics. And as a kid, I was Steve Austin for Halloween like 3 times. And I am in the Jamie Summers Club still membership. I have a signed 8x10 autograph and met her in real life, and like obsessed with anything superhero, which I just watched Spider-Man the other day, and there was 3 Spider-Mans, and all of them had an MK as their girlfriend, MK Ultra.
Of course, yeah.
But Superman, has always been a thing for me. It was a representation of God at the time. Now I understand Elohim, or El, Shornel, Shorna meaning rose or warrior in Hebrew, which my mom was given that name in a dream. Again, well, so was it a dream or did they name me? I don't know. Or did God name me? El of Elohim. I understand now what Elohim is, and you helped me with that. So can you fill us in on what you said about Elohim?
Well, I mean, I get it from when we interviewed Paul Wallace in his book, the Elohim. It's often translated God, but it's plural. It literally means gods. And Paul Wallace makes the argument in his book that it's actually referring to the creation of humanity by these high-level beings. And again, it's very controversial. I understand that, particularly to the Christian people. But it links it to the Sumerian texts of the Anunnaki, and it kind of brings it all together. So yeah, to answer the question, the Elohim are these kind of councils, these high-level beings who created humanity.
And they left the earth. Are they still here? This is my car. Keep going.
Yeah, well, I've heard that they left, but I think I have also heard that they are due to return. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But obviously, we've had a very much an infiltration on the planet, which is the crap that we're dealing with at the moment. We are getting help, but it's also raising the consciousness of humanity that we are becoming, I guess, conscious of our supermanhood, if that's a word.
Yes. I think we're all super people in some way or another. But yeah, the whole Superman thing, the S, even the shape, I'm sure there's a lot more to what the S is and whatever. Also found out that Max's crystal was turquoise. Didn't know, just found out. And I had this custom made years ago, because I had it in my mind of me with a wolf, with the turquoise. One of the things that they would do in the cage to try to scare us is they would send wolves to like attack us, or really scary dogs, but the dogs would never do anything to me, and neither would the wolves. They would just get like they were going to, and they would get so close, and then they would just lay down and they would roll over like, scratch my back. And they would get really angry about that because they wanted me to be scared, and I wasn't. But I had some sort of telepathy with animals, and that's why they used me for ETs and what have you, because communication was better. But I had that ring made and I didn't know that I was connecting it to Max at all. Again, all this stuff is just crazy, but and I still have a thing for wolves and German shepherds, and apparently Max also had German shepherds and a husky, and I have a husky too, and like all these like parallels of just
I've
trying
had a
to
husky. I've got 2 German shepherds.
exactly. Exactly. So I contacted you about some of this and had a conversation,
Yeah.
and I'm going to pull up. Do you care if I pull up what you sent me?
Yeah, it's fine.
So let me find that one. I think I have it here. If not, or anything you want to say while I'm looking for this. And I would also definitely please, anybody who has any questions or comments or whatever while I'm looking this up.
Yeah, it's just so many dots to be connected. I mean, the thing is, all of this is coming together because other people have told their stories and you've heard them, we've listened to them, and it's triggering things in you. And I think you coming out like this, I mean, since you started telling me this kind of stuff, maybe about 3 years ago, perhaps. I said to you at the time, this is going to help a lot of people and it's going to shock a lot of people because obviously your ministry background, a lot of people in the ministry circles have absolutely no clue about this sort of stuff. But they're going to. It's going to come out. And, we need to be aware of what the heck's going on and why we're going through the things we're going through as a on the planet, But yeah, sorry, have you got that picture?
Yeah, so I contacted Craig, you, and basically was like, gave you everything I just told everybody here. And this is what he Googles while we're talking. Or explain what you said to me. You said, do you think it's some sort of soul scalping? And I was like, what is that? I don't know. And then this is what you tell them.
Yeah, so basically, I'm not an expert, but I'd heard that this soul scalping technique is used where they will take the energy out of somebody and put it in someone else's body or in a cloned body. And when I was on the phone to you, I did the Google search. I just literally searched for soul scalping just to sort of double check it. And the first thing that came up was what you see there is the millenniumreport.com, soul scalping, what's really going on. And as you see there, soul scalping, and the name Ryan Gosling is the first one, first on the search engine results. And I was just like, I've got to send this to you.
Yeah, and if you click it, it actually shows Ryan with a black eye.
Yes.
Now explain that.
Okay. Again, I've only just recently looked at this, but a lot of people know about the Black Eye Club. A lot of these elites, celebrities, politicians come out in the public with a black eye. It's a part of the ritual, a part of the process of soul scalping. So it's often a sign that that this has happened to them, basically. That maybe some entity or some other energy system has been put into them, or they've been taken out and put in someone else. It's a mess. It's a really, really messy, horrible, dark thing. Go on, sorry.
No, I'm trying to find the link. Do you have the link and we can pull up the picture?
1 second.
Let's see. I have so many texts. Okay, I think I got it. Maybe. Okay. Let me see if I can send it. Again, anyone who's watching that knows anything about anything, I would love to know what you know, if there's things to know. Pulling up, stop sharing. I'm pulling this up.
I mean, I've got it here. I don't know if you can see that.
Okay, let me pull the screen up. Thank you. Yes.
Black eye.
Yes. Oh, yes, Matt. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, Ryan was also in Blade Runner. What the heck?
He was. Yep.
Oh, my God. Which is all about this whole thing, too. And then also the guy who did Blade Runner also did Man in the High Castle.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Something Wolf. Does anybody know?
Never.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he also did Man in the High Castle and several other movies about the future and AI. And yeah, has anyone ever seen Man in the High Castle? This is that, and the OA to me were like, holy crap. But of course he would be in that. See, they have to tell you what they're doing. They have to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
But when I watched old interviews of the guy who did the movies were based off books that he had written. And the books, he swears to God that he went to these places in different timelines. Now, whether he was a part of the projects, I don't know. But he said that he has went interdimensionally to all these places and was on these different timelines, and that these are all different timelines that could be possibilities. And that's what he wrote about, of knowing how, or there could be or parallel things happening at the same time, including Man in the High Castle. Man in the High Castle is basically one timeline is that the Nazis won. I don't want to say that online, but they won, and that they took over half of the United States, and that Japan took the other half on the West Coast, and the East Coast was the ends, and from the Second World War, and that we didn't actually win, which honestly we didn't. I mean, with paperclip and everything else, we're still.
We're dealing with it now. We're having to deal with it. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So, but that was one timeline where it was more in your face and actually well known and all on the news that they were the winners and we were the losers, and that there was a safe zone in the middle of the states where it was like nobody land. It was just like, I guess, the last piece of America. And, you know, there was still this back and forth with Japan and Germany. That was one of the deals. But but yeah, I think that is kind of what I was trying to accomplish. I know that Christopher Reeves is a big deal. All the all the Supermans were offed, and or had tragedy. And there was, you know, Max had talked about different dimensions and some sort of coin, and having, you know, being able to actually remember where you are at all times, that he would have this
grounding effect, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah.
And I know that Somewhere in Time, that movie, is something I've watched multiple times and was a big part of my wake up, because I felt the same way that Christopher did when he lost the girl towards
Jane Seymour.
This Max thing, except for my thing with Max isn't like a dating sexual.
A lover situation, is it? No.
It's more like a very deep friend, like my brother. So it's yeah, I don't whatever. I mean, there's a lot of trauma bonding that happened. And also just because of the missions that we were on, you know, you're close to people that you do all this stuff with. You know, it's like you almost die all the time with someone else. There is these connections, just like the OA. If you've watched the OA, they're constantly doing near-death experiences and what have you. And there's this trauma bonding thing that happens, which ironically, I think there were 5 in the OA. I could be wrong. I'd have to count. I think there were 5 that had to do the transportation part where they could jump, which Jumper was a big movie for me too, of being able to, you know, Somewhere in Time, Jumper, and what was the other one I was talking to you about during that time where I was just like obsessed with time travel. I've always been obsessed with time travel.
I can't remember what you said now. If it's in my messages, but I remember years and years ago, Paul Keith Davies talking about, you know, just to back up what you were saying about what he called the fellowship of suffering. In other words, when 2 people go through something traumatic together, it creates a very unique bond. He explained that he was out on a fishing boat once and with a friend, and this storm came in, and it was that bad. They genuinely thought they were going to die. And they managed to get it back into the dock and whatever. He said, but ever since that day, you know, there was a special bond between them because they had this experience together. So it is a thing, you know, that 2 people that go through these horrific situations do have a very deep bond. if you survive it together, you know.
It is. And I don't even know. I mean, I know we have ministry background together, and we know the same people, and you don't have memories, but there is a possibility that you were a part of these programs too, as far as you know, a lot of this happening in England and what have you. And a lot of people who are on here probably have had similar memories, or you wouldn't be necessarily drawn to this whole conversation. But do you want to speak into any of that?
I mean, the skeptic side of you always thinks, well, you know, some people will just be saying this just because they want to be the next big thing, or, you know, there's always that element of sort of question, which is good. It's good, you know. I'm not debating that. I just think we've been so hoodwinked into what is even real. You know, 2016, simultaneously, we had the same kind of awakening, you know, out of the religious mind control. And ever since then, it's been an ongoing process of realizing what is actually true. That's why we do the show that we do. And we, you know, all these amazing people who we've connected with, who we've had on the show, bringing their piece of the puzzle, because it is a community thing. We've all got a piece to share. So if someone's having memories, or if someone's having encounters or experiences, or lost time, or they want to talk about something, you know, we've got to create a community and a safe place for people to be able to do that. As ridiculous and out there as it might sound, it only sounds ridiculous in a 3D mindset and a 3D world. But when you break out of that, these things are very, very real, and it's happening to a lot of people, a lot more than we realize. It's not a select few. I mean, we've spoken extensively about the agreements made with the Greys and the reptilians, and Max spoke a lot about this, and they were given permission to start doing things with unsuspecting humans. And the consequence of that is situations like this, and the studies that the N-word that you don't talk about, what they did, and their experiences in Antarctica. I mean, there is so much to be discovered, so much to come out, for us to create a new reality, basically, and to create a better timeline for us as a species. And that's the point of all this, as far as I'm concerned, is to wake people up, to help people who are having these experiences or memories or whatever is happening to people, because I think there's a lot more than we may realize.
Yes. And I hope that this is helping somebody, because I was scared. I don't want to say to death, but just
You were nervous.
Very scared. And but I thought that it was important. So this is my sharing.
It's like your healing process as well, you know, having these things, and it's like, you know, it's almost like confession. Not that I'm into confession, but just to talk about it, come clean, it alleviates that pressure, you know. I think it's very good, and I think personally, I think we're going to hear a lot more from you about this. I mean, it may well not be the last video we do on this.
Yeah. Well, and it goes further. By the way, I just looked up Philip K. Dick is the one who did Man in the High Castle. He did tons of other stuff, and he's the one that said that he was time traveling and saw all these dimensions. So you guys might want to look into that. But I had Googled and found somebody who was doing astrology on conspiracy theorists, and when they had the one that they were doing happened to be with David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, who's just passed, and another person I don't remember, and Max Spiers. So I watched that and contacted this woman because I wanted her to do my chart. And I've had my chart done before, and actually when I had it done, the lady asked me specifically if I was part any kind of projects as a kid, because it showed Mercury, Pluto, and Jupiter in my birth house, which I guess Pluto is dark energy forces, like the hidden dark occult things, and Mercury, I want to say it was Mercury, had to do with time travel and moving very fast, and Jupiter amplified it. and she didn't know crap about any of this. And also I had not been public about any of this, and had not even had a lot of memories that made sense to me to go public. And she's literally asking me if I was a part of any kind of projects like that had to do with time travel. And I was like, oh my God, that's in my chart. So then you got to start to wonder, if that was in my chart, did they pick my time to be born, or did they pick people who knew where they were going to be? I mean, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's like, well, so did they impregnate my mom, or was she already pregnant and they enhanced, and then they picked the time. I know the birth was traumatic. I was breech, meaning I wasn't really ready to come out. So maybe it was even before the time I was supposed to come. I don't know. There's all these things, but that, and also another woman that used to cut my hair, who's kind of religious and coming out of that now, but not on this scene at all, not at all anything. And she had just contacted me about a bioscan a few weeks ago. And I was like, she's like, you probably don't remember me. I cut your hair in high school. And, she's like, I'm kind of interested in maybe getting the scan. She was having some health stuff, and that she was really working a lot with like intuitive, medical intuitive kind of stuff. I was like, well, how about let's trade? I'll scan you and you can do a medical intuitive thing on me. And when she did my reading, she was like, oh my God, for some reason I keep seeing you in this chair, and there's this thing on your head, and it has like electrical wires coming out, and it makes no sense to me. But do you have anything about that? And I was just like she wouldn't know anything, or be understanding of that. Which the whole Stranger Things movie had come up. That's the one I was talking about, is when I was in the car talking to someone on the phone. My daughter was in the car with me, and I was explaining to someone on the phone about how my time clock was broken, and that I was apologizing, and somehow it came up about nosebleeds, and I was telling this lady how I had chronic nosebleeds as a child, and to the point where it was like ridiculous, and like a clot the size of my fist had come out at one time. And I mean, I remember in second grade, literally when I was at one of the bases, there was so much blood coming out. It was literally just all over the cement. I mean, the teacher came and got me, and but so when I got off the phone, my daughter had said, you have to watch Stranger Things. Yeah. Have you seen Stranger Things? And I was like, no, I haven't. What is that? And she was like, I said, she told me it's kind of like a kid's show, but blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I hadn't heard anything about it, but I basically watched it after that. And I was like, holy crap. And I know you have your version of that too, right?
Yeah. When you said that to me, I mean, anybody that knows me as a child, maybe watching this or not, I suffered horrifically with nosebleeds. And there were times when I was up in the night, I'd wake up and my whole pillow was just completely soaked in blood. The slightest little knock and I'd be gushing, not just a little drip. I used to really gush. And I remember one particular time I woke up in the night and I called my mum, and she sat with me for about 3 hours trying to stop it, and it just would not stop, just tissues everywhere. So yeah, it just struck me when you said that, a lot of things tie in, well, that's it. Yeah.
Well, the last thing that I'll say is when I had went to basically had my recess of not wanting to talk about it, and just really retrieving and trying to just get my sanity back. I was going to have this guy on my show named John Thomas, who's a seatbelt psychic. He's on Netflix. He also has a show called The John Thomas Experience, or The Thomas John Experience. I always get them mixed up, but he said that he would meet with me because or talk to me because he wanted to see if it was a fit for the show or what have you. And when I had him on just to talk to him a few minutes, he literally gets on and he starts talking about Max and how Max is with me, and that he had this, and I wasn't like going there. I wasn't at all expecting. I was just talking about the show, and I didn't even know if I believed in all this medium stuff, and kind of goes against the programs that ministry programs, and but was like, okay, whatever. I just I'm fascinated with anything, and I'll have anybody on the show that is going to bring a different piece. And so he starts going on, and he said, there's this guy who's passed, who's trying to talk to you. He's with you. He was with you when you were younger. But it seems like there was a gap, and then you weren't together as older, but you were definitely together as a kid. Would that make sense to you? And I was like, at the time, that could be a couple different people. And then he said, well, this person, he keeps saying that he was murdered. And I was like, oh my God. And so he says, yeah, they're saying something about he was vomiting, and he said something about they turned off his DNA. They turned off his DNA. And as he's saying this, he is freaked out. Like, he does not want to tell me this. And he is supposed to be kind of interviewing to be on my show. And then he says, John Thomas says, Max is saying that you're talking about the same things that he is. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, he asked me, you're not afraid to talk about these things? I mean, he's asking me personally. Max wasn't asking me. And I said, I'm not really talking about it now. And he was really like freaked out. And I had said to him that a lot of the things that Max talked about are actually in my book. And how when I watched the video that I saw with him, it had been uploaded 7 days earlier. So I thought it was new. I thought that it was just happening, because when you see something uploaded, I mean, I upload everything within a day or two of recording if I don't go live. So I didn't know that he had passed, and he had only been passed for about a month or less than a month. And but he was talking about the same things that are in my book, and I'm like, oh my God, he's talking like me. He's saying these things. So, but John Thomas had said, well, yeah, I got to go. And he had actually, we had 2 or 3 times tried to connect, but he was sick because he got the thing. And I was just thinking like, oh, I thought you were psychic. Why did you get the thing? But I guess Max had came through and said something even about this. And he also said, if he was alive right now, that he would, he was like, I knew all of this was coming, and it's bullshit. And, a bunch of other stuff that he told me. And then the guy was so freaked out, he got off the phone very fast and was like, ghosted me completely. Like, never, I was going to have him on with Laura. And I had told Laura, I'm like, yeah, we're going to have this guy. He wants to talk to me, and then he ghosted me. And I tried to contact him for 8 months. And I think he was afraid to be on my show, to be connected with any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I actually tried again in April, this last April, to reach out one more time. And his people got in touch with me, and his people set up this thing. And I think he forgot who I was, or didn't realize that they had set it up. And when he gets on, he starts talking about my grandfather. My grandmother had names of everything, like very specific details that is not on the internet anywhere. And then all of a sudden he starts talking about Max again. And then it's like, as I'm watching him talk about Max, I can see that he's remembering that he's done this before. Although it was a little bit different, and he said some other things. When he got to the part where like, there's like suspiciousness around his death, isn't there? There's like a mystery around his death, isn't there? He was murdered. And then you could see in his mind, like, he's thinking, oh shit, like this is the same girl. I think I've done this before. So, and he's ghosted me again. So, again, this isn't anything that I was seeking out, but it keeps coming up. And I had even started to feel like I was picking up mannerisms and talking like him in a way. And I was watching this interview, and I had called the person that I didn't name, that you and I know, that was in ministry. And I was like, is there a possible way that someone who's passed, that Max, can be piggybacking on me in a way, or like hijacking me or something? And as soon as I said that, like, Max was in this interview facing the interviewer this way and having this conversation the whole interview. And right when I say this on the phone, in the living room. He literally turns, looks straight at the camera, eye to eye, and says to me, yes, of course, because you are me and I'm you. And then he turns back and finishes the interview. And I literally was like, what the hell? So, and I can't find that link anymore. I've tried to find that interview. I think a lot of stuff has been taken down. I would also really like to talk to Vanessa Bates, his mother, and I've reached out to her, but we are not Facebook friends. So you know how they hide, you know, when you send messages. So if anyone knows how I can reach out to her, or if you have a way to reach out to her for me, for anyone watching, if you know how I can talk to her, I feel like there's some things that I can connect, that maybe she can connect, but I also don't want to trigger her, cause any more pain in what she's been through with the death of her son in such a horrible way. But yeah, so this is all I really have for right now. But I do have a meeting with this girl who did the astrology reading for Max, and I set up mine personally. And I said, is there a way that I could do mine and then have his done, another person done, is how I said it, to see if there's a comparison or any overlap, or is that a thing? Because I don't know anything about this. And she was like, well, go ahead and send me that person and your stuff information. This is all I need. And I said, well, I don't want to send you his stuff because I want mine to be pure. I want you to tell me. If I had said me and this guy, and she knows about him because she did his chart, then she could maybe give me something that would be similar, without trying or not wanting to be, you know, on purpose about it. But because you're front loaded with information, it could lean a certain way. And I didn't want her to give me something based on knowledge. I wanted her to have like a blind reading. So I said, I would not like to give you that information yet. If you could just do mine first, and then I will give you his information, and then we could see where there's overlap. So she did mine yesterday, and she's going to compare with Max on this Wednesday, and I'll be able to see. So there might be some part twos to this. And also after talking to everybody, and who knows what else information, there might be some part twos, but this has gone on really long, and I don't want to bore anybody to tears about my story. So
it's important that we hear it, though. Like I said, I've said this for a long time. I've been waiting for this, to be honest, but obviously it had to be at the right time when you were ready. I'm honoured that that we're doing it together. You know, I'm just a guy from the north of England, you know, and I just think we've got to do this in Max's honour as well. You know, I mean, he had a mission. He clearly had a goal, and it was cut short. So he's still trying to do his thing, and maybe we can help finish what he started.
Yes, and I know Max is with me, and I don't care what anyone says. You don't have to. I'm not going to argue with anyone. It doesn't make sense.
It's personal. It's deeply personal.
Even when I tried to shove it out of my head, it's random people who shouldn't know anything show me that he's here still, and he's doing a lot of work still on the other side.
Yes.
And you know, you're right, honoring him and loving him for who he is and what he was. And just it's mysterious, but what I was told, what I felt he had said, is just to not be so concerned about how he died or what happened or blame or whatever, but just to be more remembering his message, which
exactly,
my book actually talks about remembering the frequency of love is getting out of this dualistic situation, because when we are, the only way we stay in 3D is when there's this. And so if there's a constant war, constant fear, constant all these things, then there's going to be a polarity, and we won't ever get to union and ascend. And so it's just a constant remembering and being in union as much as possible, so we can pass that tipping point of being able to get to that next level and to move on. But even John Thomas had kept saying, you have these capabilities, this mediumship, this psychic, very strong psychic abilities and mediumship, and he can talk to you and what have you. And so I've been like yelling at him, going, will you please have your mother call me? Please talk to your mom and have her call me. I really want to talk to your mom. But so I don't know. But anyway, I love all of you, Candace, and all you guys out there supporting me and loving me, and Craig, and for listening, just your patience. And thank you, Craig, for being my friend in the middle of all of this. And, cheers. And yeah, again, it's just anybody who has anything that that can give answers, or if you have your own situation and you are searching for answers, let's chat. And yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of us out there. According to Max, a lot of us are not here anymore, but for the few that are here, I think that this is an important that we're still here and that we made it, and there's some kind of message here to help with everything. And yeah, it just kind of makes me sad that someone this young could have to go through. I'll look at pictures of myself, so tiny, and it's like, how could anyone do stuff like that to a child? It's just
it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And I think that's why we're here. I think that's why we're talking about this stuff, because what we're going through is the removal of the power structures that have allowed this kind of stuff. It's massive. It's not just planetary, it's cosmic, what we're going through. This was Max's message. He brought light to these things. They didn't like it. They got to him. But when there's millions of us talking about this, they're screwed. They're screwed when we wake up. So that's what this is about. Everyone having their own stories, being grounded and rooted in this realm, and ascending as well. I've just got a notification. I've got 6% of battery left, and I'm in my car.
Okay. Yes, I know. I got to go too. I have a meeting, but definitely there's a lot more to talk about. The jump room, and Jared Leto, and California. And I mean, I have a whole list of things that we'll probably do a part 2 with some things, but it does make me wonder how much Ryan has memories, or Orlando. What does he remember? I don't have a drawing to him at all, but I do have some stuff with Scott Whelan, Kurt Cobain. Definitely.
What was the name of Scott Whelan's band?
Yes. What is it?
30 Seconds to Mars.
Jared Leto, 30 Seconds to Mars with the jump room.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The jump room in Mars, and I know Scott Whelan knew Max, and there was a connection there. But also Heath Ledger, Johnny Depp, Orlando. We're gonna have a whole show about that as well. But I have a meeting. You have 6%.
5.
Love you so much. Please, if you have anything, I would love for you guys to reach out, and I hope this was helpful. If you could please share, I'm just going to ask you guys to please share this to as many people as possible. Put it in groups, give it, I don't know where it can go, but I know people need to hear whatever they need to hear. The right people will get this, and this will help or trigger, and we will get these pieces together. I love you. Go to swiftfire.org. Get on the newsletter. This book has a lot of information that came to me from the beings that came in my living room. And just mucho love to all of you guys, and we'll talk soon. Thanks a lot. All right. Bye.